Imagine placing a bowl of fresh fruit and a bowl of candy in front of a child who has never been taught what sugar is. Which one do you think they'll choose? Most people assume it's simply because candy tastes better. But the truth is far more fascinating. Long before chocolate bars, soft drinks, cakes, and candy ever existed, the human brain was already searching for sweetness. In fact, your love for sugar began tens of thousands of years before the first civilization was built. It wasn't created by food companies or clever advertisements. It was written into your biology by evolution itself. Every time you crave something sweet, you're experiencing a survival instinct that helped your ancestors stay alive. The surprising question is not why we enjoy sweet foods today. The real question is why evolution designed us to crave them so intensely in the first place. To understand this mystery, we need to travel back more than 50,000 years, long before supermarkets, restaurants, or refrigerators existed. Imagine waking up in a world where food wasn't guaranteed. Every sunrise began with uncertainty. Some days you found enough berries, fruits, nuts, or honey to feed your family. Other days you found almost nothing. There were no grocery stores waiting around the corner. Survival depended entirely on what nature provided. In this harsh environment, every calorie mattered. A single day without enough food could weaken your body. Several days could become life-threatening. Our ancestors didn't have the luxury of choosing between healthy and unhealthy meals. Their biggest concern was finding enough energy to survive until tomorrow. This is where sweetness became one of nature's greatest survival signals. In the wild, sweet foods were usually safe to eat and packed with valuable energy. Ripe fruits contained natural sugars that could quickly fuel the brain and muscles. Honey was incredibly rare, but provided enormous amounts of calories in a small amount of food. Whenever our ancestors discovered something sweet, it dramatically increased their chances of survival. Evolution quickly rewarded this behavior. The brains of people who eagerly searched for sweet foods were more likely to stay alive, raise families, and pass their genes to the next generation. Over thousands of generations, this preference became deeply embedded inside the human brain. Today, every time you enjoy something sweet, you're activating one of the oldest survival systems ever created. But evolution didn't stop there. It made sweetness feel good. Deep inside your brain is a remarkable reward system designed to encourage behaviors that improve survival. Whenever your ancestors found calorie-rich food, the brain released dopamine, a powerful neurotransmitter associated with motivation, learning, and reward. Many people mistakenly call dopamine the happiness chemical, but that's not entirely accurate. Dopamine doesn't simply make you happy. It motivates you to repeat behaviors that helped you survive. In the ancient world, that meant searching for more fruit, more honey, and more nutritious food whenever possible. The better something supported survival, the stronger the brain rewarded it. Imagine finding a tree covered with ripe fruit after several days of hunger. Your brain wouldn't tell you to eat just enough and save the rest for someone else. It would encourage you to eat as much as possible because tomorrow, there was no guarantee you would find food again. This instinct was brilliant in a world of scarcity. The more energy you stored, the greater your chances of surviving periods without food. But evolution had no way of predicting the modern world, a world where sugary foods would be available 24 hours a day, delivered to your door in minutes, and engineered to taste sweeter than anything nature ever created. This is where one of the greatest mismatches in human history begins. Your environment changed almost overnight, but your brain remained almost the same. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans consumed naturally sweet foods only occasionally. Today, sugar is hidden almost everywhere. Breakfast cereals, soft drinks, fruit juices, sauces, desserts, flavored yogurt, energy drinks, snacks, and even foods that don't taste particularly sweet often contain large amounts of added sugar. Your ancient brain still reacts as though every sweet meal might be your last opportunity to gather energy. It cannot fully understand that another meal is only a few hours away. Scientists call this an asterisk evolutionary mismatch. It happens when a survival system that once protected us begins creating problems in an environment it was never designed for. Every sugary drink, every processed snack is designed to trigger instincts that evolved long before supermarkets ever existed. But perhaps the most surprising discovery is that your brain often craves sugar even when your body doesn't need it. Have you ever eaten a full meal and still wanted dessert? That's because the reward system inside your brain is separate from the system that tells you you're physically full. Your stomach may say, "We've had enough," while your brain whispers, "Just one more bite." Food companies understand this incredibly well. By combining sugar with fat, salt, and carefully engineered flavors, they create foods that keep stimulating your reward system long after your energy needs have been met. In many ways, your ancient brain is being outsmarted by modern science. So, if evolution created our love for sweetness to help us survive, why has the same instinct become one of the biggest health challenges of the modern world? Why do so many intelligent people struggle to resist foods they know are unhealthy? And is it actually possible to retrain a brain that has been following the same survival program for tens of thousands of years? The answer lies in understanding one extraordinary fact. Your ancient instincts may shape your cravings, but they do not have to control your future. And that journey begins in the next chapter, where we'll uncover how the modern food industry learned to hijack one of evolution's greatest survival mechanisms and what you can do to take your brain back. Imagine taking one of your ancestors from 50,000 years ago and bringing them into a modern supermarket. They would walk through endless aisles filled with chocolates, cakes, cookies, ice cream, candies, sodas, energy drinks, breakfast cereals, flavored coffees, and thousands of colorful snacks. To them, it would look less like a grocery store and more like an endless paradise of survival. Eat as much as you can. Asterisk, the fascinating part is this: your brain reacts almost exactly the same way. Although thousands of years have passed, the reward system inside your brain is still running ancient software. Evolution moves incredibly slowly. Human civilization changed dramatically in only a few thousand years. But the brain that sits inside your skull is still largely designed for a world where food was scarce and survival was uncertain. Your body now lives in the 21st century, but many fewer instincts still belong to the Stone Age. This is where modern food science enters the story. Food companies don't simply make food taste good. They spend billions of dollars studying how the human brain responds to sweetness, texture, smell, color, and even the sound food makes when you bite into it. Scientists and marketers understand that your brain isn't looking for nutrition first, it is looking for reward. The more rewarding a food feels, the more likely you are to buy it again. Think about a fresh apple. It contains natural sugar, fiber, water, and nutrients. As you eat it, your body slowly absorbs its energy, allowing your brain enough time to recognize that you've eaten. Now compare that to a bottle of soda. Within minutes, huge amounts of sugar enter your bloodstream. Your brain experiences a rapid dopamine response far stronger than what nature originally intended. Evolution designed dopamine to reward rare discoveries like ripe fruit or honey. It never expected humans to consume dozens of teaspoons of refined sugar within a few minutes. This is why processed sugar feels different from natural sweetness. Nature created balance. Humans created concentration. One orange contains natural sugar wrapped inside fiber that slows digestion. A glass of orange-flavored soda may contain far more sugar without any of the natural barriers that once protected the body. Your brain receives the reward almost instantly, encouraging you to repeat the experience again and again. Over time, something remarkable begins to happen. The brain starts adapting. It's just like listening to loud music every day makes quieter sounds seem less exciting. Repeatedly consuming large amounts of sugar slowly reduces your brain's sensitivity to dopamine. Foods that once tasted incredibly sweet begin to feel ordinary. Your brain starts demanding stronger rewards. That's why many people don't stop at one cookie, or one piece of chocolate, or one sip of soda. The craving isn't simply about hunger anymore. It's about stimulation. Neuroscientists often compare this process to turning up the volume on a speaker. The more frequently the reward system is overstimulated, the more stimulation it needs to produce the same feeling of satisfaction. But sugar doesn't only affect dopamine. It also influences memory. Have you ever noticed that certain desserts instantly remind you of childhood birthdays, family gatherings, or holidays? That's because your brain stores emotional memories together with pleasurable experiences. Every time sugar appears during moments of celebration, comfort, or love, your brain strengthens the connection between sweetness and emotional safety. Years later, you may not crave cake because you're hungry. You crave it because your brain remembers how it made you feel. This is one reason emotional eating is so common when people experience stress, loneliness, anxiety, or sadness. The brain naturally searches for experiences that previously created comfort. Sugar temporarily activates reward circuits that reduce emotional discomfort for a short period. The relief feels real, but only briefly soon after. Blood sugar drops, dopamine returns to normal, and the emotional pain often comes back stronger than before. The brain remembers only one thing: sugar helped, so the cycle repeats. This isn't because you're weak. It's because your brain is doing exactly what evolution trained it to do. Repeat behaviors that once increased survival and emotional security. But perhaps the greatest irony of all is this: your ancestors desperately searched for sugar because it was rare. Modern humans struggle to escape it because it is everywhere. The very survival instinct that once kept humanity alive is now being exploited by an environment overflowing with unlimited sweetness. Yet despite everything we've discussed, there is something incredibly hopeful hidden inside the human brain. Unlike our ancestors, we possess something evolution also gave us: the ability to become aware of our own instincts. The moment you understand why your brain craves sugar, you stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself. And understanding creates choice, because while evolution may have written the first chapter of your brain's story, it's never wrote the final one. Modern neuroscience has revealed that the brain can actually rewire itself, weaken old cravings, build healthier habits, and regain control over reward systems that once seemed impossible to resist. But how? Can a brain shaped by 50,000 years of evolution truly learn new behaviors in a world overflowing with temptation? The answer may be one of the most empowering discoveries in neuroscience, and it changes everything. Imagine that. Tomorrow morning you wake up with absolutely no desire for sugar. You walk past cakes, chocolates, cookies, soft drinks, and candy without feeling even the slightest temptation. For many people, that sounds impossible. After all, sugar cravings can feel stronger than logic itself. Too much sugar is harmful. It increases the risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and countless other health problems. Yet your hand still reaches for another cookie. Why? Because knowledge alone doesn't control behavior. Your brain does. The brain always listens more carefully to survival instincts than to good intentions. But here's the incredible truth: your brain is not a prison. It is a living, changing organ. One of the greatest discoveries in modern neuroscience is something called neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself throughout life. Every choice you make strengthens certain neural pathways while weakening others. The habits you repeat become easier. The habits you ignore gradually fade. This means your cravings are not permanent. They're patterns, and patterns can be changed. Think about learning to drive a car. At first, every movement demands your full attention. Pressing the pedals, checking mirrors. Your brain builds new pathways, and driving becomes almost automatic. Your relationship with sugar works in exactly the same way. Every time you choose water instead of soda, fruit instead of candy, or a balanced meal instead of processed snacks, your brain begins creating a new pattern. At first, it feels difficult because the old pathway is stronger. But with consistency, the new pathway grows, while the old one slowly weakens. The brain always adapts to what you repeatedly practice. One of the biggest myths about willpower is that successful people simply have more of it. The people who maintain healthy eating habits don't rely on endless self. They design environments that mang a bowl of fresh fruit on your kitchen table and hiding sugary snacks out of sight. That simple change may seem insignificant, but your brain is heavily influenced by whatever is easiest to access. Human behavior is shaped less by motivation and more by environment. Your ancestors couldn't crave food that wasn't available, and neither can you. Sometimes changing your surroundings is more powerful than trying to fight your instincts. Why? It can be satisfied by almost any nutritious food. Craving appears suddenly and usually demands something very specific. Your brain doesn't whisper, "Eat anything." It says, "I want chocolate. I want ice cream. I want cake." That's because cravings are often emotional rather than physical. The next time you feel an intense desire for sugar, pause for a moment and ask yourself a simple question. Asterisk, am I feeding my body, or am I trying to comfort my mind? Asterisk, that single moment of awareness creates space between impulse and action. And in that small space, your freedom begins. Sleep also plays a much bigger role than most people realize. When you're sleep deprived, the brain becomes far more sensitive to rewarding foods, making sugary foods appear even more attractive. Your exhausted brain isn't simply asking for sugar because it tastes good. It's desperately searching for quick energy. In many cases, what feels like a sugar addiction is actually your body asking for rest. A well-rested brain makes wiser decisions because it no longer feels like it's fighting for survival. Stress creates another hidden trap. Remember, your brain evolved in dangerous environments. Whenever it senses a threat, whether it's a hungry predator thousands of years ago or an overwhelming workload today, it begins searching for fast energy. Sugar temporarily reduces stress by activating the brain's reward system, but the relief is short-lived. Soon after, the stress returns, often stronger than before. This is why many people reach for sweets after a difficult day. They aren't feeding hunger. They're trying to soothe an ancient survival system that believes immediate energy equals safety. The good news is that your brain can learn healthier ways to find that same feeling of reward. Exercise releases dopamine naturally. Meaningful conversations increase oxytocin. Sunlight supports serotonin production. Laughter, music, learning something new, spending time in nature, and achieving small goals all activate the brain's reward circuits without overwhelming them. Over time, your brain begins discovering that pleasure doesn't have to come from sugar alone. It starts remembering what genuine well-being feels like. Perhaps the most important lesson is this: don't hate your brain for craving sweetness. Respect it. Those cravings exist because your ancestors survived long enough to pass them on to you. Without that instinct, you might not be here today. Your brain isn't trying to destroy your health. It's trying to protect you using survival rules written for a completely different world. The problem isn't your brain. The problem is that the modern environment offers more sugar in a single day than your ancestors may have found in months. Evolution never prepared us for unlimited abundance. So the next time you crave something sweet, don't ask, "Why am I so weak?" Instead ask, "What is my ancient brain trying to do?" That single shift changes everything. It replaces guilt with understanding. And understanding is the beginning of lasting change. In the end, this story isn't really about sugar. It's about the incredible relationship between evolution and the human mind. Every craving you experience is a message from the past. Every habit you build is a gift to your future. Your ancestors taught your brain how to survive. Now it's your turn to teach it how to thrive, because the greatest victory isn't resisting one piece of chocolate. And perhaps that's the real secret hidden behind every sugar craving. Your brain has always been trying to keep you alive. Now, with knowledge, awareness, and conscious choices, you can help it do something even more important. Not just survive, but truly live. Thank you for watching. This documentary changed the way you think about sugar evolution.